Let's begin our business of shaping policy for today by looking at the minimum wage in Nigeria and efforts being made by the federal government to review this. Given the present economic reality, there has been concerns in Nigeria about the present minimum wage, which is why many Nigerians are calling for review. At the moment, an average worker in Nigeria earns about 30,000 naira, which is equivalent to about $20, which was introduced in the year 2018. Now there are conversations around increasing this minimum wage, which the federal government has set up committees to look into these. Hopefully by next month or by May, the federal government may likely announce a new minimum wage. But the conversation is, how will Nigerians survive given the present economic reality? Let's shift the conversation to our guest analyst who is joining us via Zoom. We are being joined by Barrister Oladotun Hassan, who is a legal practitioner. Glad you have joined us this morning, Barrister Hassan.
Yes, good morning. It's a pleasure to be on your program.
It's been a while. Great to have you. There's a report suggesting that compared to some other African countries, like about 7 other African countries, that Nigeria has one of the lowest minimum wage in Africa. Looking at the present minimum wage, which is at 30,000 naira, equivalent to $20. What's your take on this, and how will you juxtapose this with economic realities in Nigeria?
Well, it's quite regrettable that we are discussing earnings, wages, and salaries of hardworking Nigerians whose livelihood depends on the monthly salaries from the government, that is exclusively now from the government coffers as staffs of or civil servants, as we may call it, that their earnings is still pegged at no less than $20 a month. Considering the high level of inflation, considering the growth in the state of exponential increment in all staples, foods, petrol, everything as far as the whole country is concerned, skyrocketed beyond the reach of an average Nigerian. So, which means that while all these are growing and exponentially out of reach of the common man, the belief of the federal government is without planning for the staffs and civil servants, because where they are planning, we ought to have bypassed this scenario, because daily, in terms of what we are currently faced with now, we ought to have bypassed and grow all these situations. But because we are not in a state whereby people are governed by policy, because where government can, the senators, the president, and the judicial salaries can be reviewed at will, and there is no limit to what the president can collect monthly. There should also be no limit to what we should be thinking about, to how growth of salary should also be. In a standard environment of this nature, considering the high level inflation, what we should be looking at now is not less than ₦1 million a month, in view of the current predicaments that are presently in the state. But regrettably, even the agitation from the federal government to increase the minimum wage to 500,000, do we even have the capacity? The NLC are demanding for 1 million, now reduced to 500. So it is not just that kind of, those kind of things are not necessary. There should have been progressional, incremental process for the past 10 years now, and people would have known, with what is going on, they should, even monthly, yearly, there should have been that progressional increment, not a stagnated increment or a fiat that, tomorrow we are increasing, and let every state government. At the end of the day, state governors do not even have capacity. Then if we are looking at the federal government, what about private establishments? So there should be a national minimum wage standard, not for civil servants alone. There should be other welfare programs like insurance the leave process out. Even workers don't hardly go on leave these days. Even their leaves are converted to working period, because there's nothing you are going to go and enjoy during your leave period, because you can always witness it. Unlike before, you know that this man is on leave. But these days, workers that are even on leave will want to prefer to be at work, because there's nothing to go and rest, because the policy planning is not fit to accommodate such. So there is a need for us to look holistically on the paradigm that the federal government needs to really come up with a national policy plan on minimum wage that will both affect both private and government workers. That will also, the government don't need to also look at salary earnings. They should also provide the enabling environment that will ease the pressure. Like there should be government food bank, there should be other critical area free health for ages of like age 60 and above, free health, age 5 to 18, there should also be free health, because that is the age bracket of surviving to be a youth of this country. So there should be some other things that will create that enabling environment. There should be constant power supply. If you have that, it will reduce the level of poverty that we have. So unfortunately, being a poverty-stricken nation, because that is who we are one of the most highest poverty indices of the world. They even tagged us the poverty capital of the world because of how we have stagnated our development and progress. So there is a need that, in as much as the current federal government is trying to dance, I'll call it dance to the tune of labor unions, such decisions should not be done out of pressure or out of compulsion. Such decision needs to be progressively looked at. If they cannot afford 500,000, let them not go and make an announcement that will become a total breakdown, because what are the indices to support the payment? Do they have most federal agencies and government workers just go to earn salary? They don't even do anything on the table. There are some ministries that all they just do is to collect monthly salary, because no docket, no file is brought to their office, because those offices are moribund. So, and that is the reason why a Rossoni report was brought on the deck, that there are a lot of government parastatals that are just duplicating duties. So, and that is wastages, waste of resources, waste of time and confusion. So when government needs to come up with all this whole plan, let them be properly situated and don't let them rush at delivering fake promises of, or I will call it voicemail, that people will not just see the reality of those promises. So I want to advise that the federal government should do more in that regard.
Okay, thank you very much. You've mentioned that the review of the wage should not be done under duress or under pressure. Now, what should be the ideal for wage review, not just for federal government parastatals, but across board? I'm talking about the private sector as well. And the report that says that Nigeria has the lowest minimum wage when compared to some other African countries. What do you think is the reason for this?
Well, the proper thing, because I've already suggested that considering the current reality, an average civil servant or employer or an average employee should have no less than ₦1 million, because that is what will meet up your family needs, your immediate needs, and the rigors of expenses that people are faced with when it comes to expenditure, without leveraging on equitable revenue to meet up those expenditures. And in view of that, the suggestion might be unrealistic, might be like a flash in the pan, but it is the reality that the government ought to have. We need to be talking about $1,005 a month, as at now, considering our level of economy, considering where we ought to be by now. But corruption, moral corruption, financial corruption, social corruption have killed the patriotic zeal that citizens need to have in developing a state. Everybody wants to earn more than their salary. Everybody wants to steal money. So And it is not about either you are a Christian or a Muslim. It's all about the national menace we are faced with. So in looking at the solution, that is supposed to be, but because we lack planning, the FARC, the Federal Ministry of Finance, there's no proper planning to situate what should be an averagely a worker to be taking home, take home pay. But whereby these things are not there, there is no way that we are not going to start from planning ourselves. And how do we plan ourselves? Government needs to come with a lot of rebates now in terms of tax, in terms of trying to shuffle and ameliorate the pain, because the salary, no matter what they want to jack it up to, the capacity of government to meet up, so that there will not be no salary owings. We have seen in a state of this, in this country, in Osun State, whereby people collect half salary. Where do you think that will happen in the whole wide world? Half salary in a state that there is government, but because government is like a dastical, government is borrowed more than they can chew. They've mortgaged the future of their state by borrowing and without any means of repayment, trying to shift those borrowings to successive government. So these are issues that have affected us year in, year out. So, and there is a need for us to guide the process appropriately. So I will still implore that government needs to do the needful by planning ourselves, ensuring that worker salaries are tagged. But what would we do? How do we now go forward? Is about from the local level, from the local government level, there should be some level of grading. State workers, there should be some level of grading. There should be a lot of reviews around it, not just minimum wage. You know, that word minimum wage, then what is the maximum? So you see people earning 800,000, while people at the lowest skilled are still earning this menial salary. Because those that are on this policy, driving policy makers, earn higher salaries and they don't even know what that minimum earners life look like. They don't experience it. So there's no way you talk about it. It doesn't sound real to them. So we're just trying to, I'm trying to paint a scenario that we need to plan ourselves clearly.
Earlier, we were making reference to some concerns about the capacity of the state government to be able to pay. So I'd like you to continue your thought in this regard.
Well, I've been listening to your conversation. It goes to say that we are not getting anywhere because the proposals, the means of achieving this is, to me, is very vague, is opaque. It's not transparent because you don't sit with the people you want to pay and let them dictate what they want to collect. They will mention any amount that best suits their pocket because it's like you are giving a John the Baptist offer to seek for the head of the John the Baptist. They will ask for more than what they can make as far as the state is concerned. It's all about the economy. So what I want to request is that let us plan appropriately and adequately so that we can now begin to determine the way forward. The last year, the TUC and then the NLC and TUC were agitating for 200,000 naira. What has changed to demand for 1 million naira? So these all issues will keep to erode our state without us having adequate planning. So without us having adequate planning, we'll keep to relate to ourselves as if we don't have leadership, we don't have government. Government is different from what we are having now. The people are not being carried along. Government is looking for a one-size-fits-all to shut down. You don't shut down people. Let them know the reality that is on ground. We have, as at now, our debt profile is on the highest. It's on the highest peak. How do we even solve that problem? We need to get solutions. So the myriad of challenge is quite higher than the solution. And if we have to keep to talk about solution, the government needs to come clean, letting us know, oh, I don't have this capacity now, but this is the law. Let us have a national law on to guide employability law to ensure that whatever the government promises, it will not become a voicemail, that people can actually earn a better labor and people can be properly monitored even while they are being employed. Averagely, I always argue on this fact that how do you think a level 4 officer or a level 5 officer, level 6 officer will be building a mansion and riding on an exotic car in the city of Abuja? But because they don't believe in salary. A lot of these workers don't even believe in salary. If they believe in salary, you would have seen their agitation on the streets. You would have seen them turning down they will not even have money to even go to work, because the 30,000 naira or you are talking about will not even earn you more than 1 day, just for that 1 day. It's a 1 day salary. So, but the survivor, how do you think we are talking about this money? Is it that there is always another means that our federal workers survive? Or is it that they are that they are just changing the system? Why is it that the civil servants are always found in the midst of corruption? And if you want to talk about anything that is happening, you always know that they are the conduit of corruption, because they don't believe in salary. If they actually believe in salary, then it will become a collective battle for the entire nation, even the unemployed Nigerians. That's why I've always come to blame the NLC. Anytime they are going to strike, you're only representing the workers, which is just a fragment of just 30% of average, the entire total population that is unemployed or do not have any means of livelihood is over 70%. Those that have common livelihood that can survive, they are less than 30%. Why would they be the one to dictate strike? If they have any issue, they just always want to shut down, and they negotiate their personal interest out of it. They sit down at round table without commensurate. You know how many times the NLC has sat with federal government in the past over salary, over strikes, over issues? You begin to see now ASU will bring their own, demanding for job, for work they never did, that they never served. We went on strike, you want to be paid for what you never, that is unpatriotic. I believe if there is going to be strike, let people go on hunger strike. Let us know that they are actually passionate. If they are now about dying, then the federal government should come to our rescue. But not all this kind of premeditated strike to demand for increment in salary. To every junction, you just see strike bombs. No. All we need to do this period is to have a national policy plan on those that are employed, those that are unemployed. How do you close the bracket? How do you also give them a livelihood? How do they even be? Because they are not even on the radar of minimum wage. So all these things are very, very key that we need proper planning to achieve. If there is no sit down, that we don't sit out to discuss this issue, and we begin to take it haphazardly, we get nowhere.
In line with making it a reality, a new minimum wage for Nigeria, one concern as to why the government, whether federal government or state government, finds it difficult to take on or to pay a new minimum wage is the issue of ghost workers. Now, it is said that the federal government is the single largest employer of labor in Nigeria, and that goes same for states. But what about the issue of ghost workers? What can be done to rule that out so the government knows those who are really in its employ and see if it can pay a new minimum wage?
Well, on the issue of ghost worker, it goes to say that these are a list of workers that are not in service. Their names are on the roll call of salary, minimum wage. They are even posted. They are even given promotion. This is like a name that is just placed in the record, and the salary is being cleared off. I think there is one country, one of these African countries, one of the person that pays the president's salary was already earning more than half of the entire citizen salary, the entire nation's budget, because he got almost not less than $1 million plus on ghost salary earnings, meaning You just got those names from local government to everywhere, and their monies that are being collected them monthly are just going into some private accounts. This is wrong. This is the situation of power corrupt and absolute power corrupt. Absolutely. What is the EFCC, the NFIU doing in respect of verification? Even when they say they are doing verification of workers, those that organize this verification are behind the ghost workers syndrome. So we can't just shut it out all because we are talking about ghost workers from federal. There are ghost workers in state that some state governors are behind. There are some ghost workers that some service people are behind. The civil servants are behind. Permanent secretaries. They just believe that is their own life earning. They still collect ghost workers' salary. They still collect ghost worker emolument and pensions. So I don't understand that. How do we really survive all these treasuries? We cannot grow an economy if it's predicated on humongous corruption of this nature. What we should be talking about is the fact that the NFIU, the ICPC, now that they are merging them, there should be, from the point of salary, there should be proper fingerprint verification. And that will be what you have to be registered with. Not on a yearly and do not call for an exercise. And you don't even know a worker that will just come for the first time to just come. Even there are some workers that are workers in a ministry, but they've not even visited that ministry for one day. So these are issues that we are faced with, and we cannot equate it down to a normalcy, down to challenge it, bring in the hand of the law. Are there no people that are behind these ghost workers issues? Can they be prosecuted who have been collecting the salary of this ghost worker? So if we don't plan appropriately, we end up in the belly of the lion at the end of the day.
Barrister Oladotun Hassan, we just have to thank you for your submission. With what you've said, we are hoping that as the federal government considers the review of the minimum wage, all those things will be put into consideration, and then Nigerian workers will have reasons to smile going to the banks. Thank you so much for your time and commitment.
Thank you, and God bless.
Early exchange, shaping policy, advancing development.